Sophia Marlowe sat by her bedroom window, the golden hues of the Wycliffe sunset illuminating her face. Her sketchbook rested on her lap, the page filled with intricate designs of tall, glass-paneled buildings. To anyone passing by, she looked like any other small-town girl, content and at ease. But inside, Sophia wrestled with a storm of conflicting emotions. Wycliffe was home, but it wasn't where she belonged. Her bedroom walls were lined with posters of architectural marvels, the Eiffel Tower, the Burj Khalifa, and even the Guggenheim Museum. She remembered the first time she saw a picture of the Chrysler Building in a library book when she was 8 years old. It wasn't just a building, it was a dream solidified in steel and glass. From that day on, she knew what she wanted to do. Sophia, her mother's voice rang from downstairs. Dinner's ready. Sophia closed her sketchbook, carefully tucking it under her bed as if hiding it could keep her dreams safe from the reality waiting for her at the dinner table. Downstairs, her father, Henry, was setting the table. His hands, calloused from years of kneading dough, moved with practiced efficiency. The smell of freshly baked bread filled the air, a comforting aroma that felt like home. Her mother, Lydia, placed a steaming pot of chicken stew in the center of the table, her floral apron dusted with flour. "How was your day, sweetheart?" Lydia asked as Sophia took her seat. "Good," Sophia replied, forcing a smile. She wanted to tell them about her acceptance letter but couldn't find the words. Her father had always been practical to a fault, dismissing anything that didn't have a clear, tangible result. And her mother, though kind, often deferred to Henry's judgment. As they ate, Henry spoke about the bakery's upcoming orders, while Lydia chimed in with news about their neighbors. Sophia nodded along, her heart pounding with the secret she carried. Finally, she couldn't hold it in any longer. "I got into the New York School of Architecture," she blurted out, her voice trembling. "And I got a full scholarship." The room fell silent. Henry set his fork down, his expression unreadable. Lydia blinked, her smile faltering. "What do you mean, you got in?" Henry asked, his tone cautious. "I applied months ago," Sophia explained, her words tumbling out in a rush. "It's a prestigious program, one of the best in the country. This is my chance to become an architect." Henry leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "And what about the bakery? What about your responsibilities here?" "Dad, I love you and Mom, but I don't want to spend my life baking bread," Sophia said, her voice breaking. "I want more than this town can offer." Lydia reached for her hand. "Sophia, you don't have to leave to have a good life. We've built something stable here. Don't throw it away for a dream that might not come true." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "It's not just a dream, Mom. It's who I am." Henry shook his head. "You're being selfish, Sophia. Think about your family for once." The rest of the dinner passed in strained silence, the once cozy atmosphere now heavy with unspoken words. That night, as Sophia lay in bed staring at the ceiling, she made her decision. She would leave, even if it meant losing the only family she had ever known. The bus ride to New York was a blur of emotions. Sophia clutched her sketchbook like a lifeline, the pages filled with blueprints and designs she had poured her heart into. As the city skyline came into view, she felt a mix of awe and fear. This was it, the city of her dreams and the place where she would either succeed or fail spectacularly. Her dorm room was small but functional, with a single bed, a desk, and a view of the bustling street below. Her roommate, Elena, arrived an hour later, dragging 2 oversized suitcases and wearing a leather jacket that screamed confidence. "You must be Sophia," Elena said, tossing her jacket onto the bed. "I'm Elena. Actress in the making, coffee addict, and your new best friend." Sophia couldn't help but smile at her energy. "Nice to meet you." Over the next few weeks, Sophia threw herself into her classes, determined to prove she belonged. Her professors were intimidating, their critiques often cutting, but she soaked up every lesson like a sponge. Her sketches grew more ambitious, her lines more precise. Yet, despite her hard work, she often felt out of place. Her classmates, many of whom came from wealthy, connected families, dismissed her as the small-town girl. One evening, after a particularly grueling critique session, Sophia found herself sitting on the dorm rooftop, sketchbook in hand. Elena joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Tough day?" Elena asked, handing her a cup. Sophia nodded. "Sometimes I wonder if I made a mistake coming here." Elena laughed. "Of course you didn't. You've got something most people here don't, grit. Don't let them scare you off." Sophia smiled, feeling a flicker of hope. Maybe she could make it here after all. Life in New York was a constant battle. Sophia balanced her demanding classes with a part-time job at a coffee shop, often working late into the night. The city, while exhilarating, could be isolating. She missed the simplicity of Wycliffe, the warmth of her mother's hugs, and the smell of fresh bread in the morning. Her beauty, which had once been a source of admiration, now felt like a double-edged sword. Professors and classmates often underestimated her, assuming her looks meant she lacked substance. One professor, Dr. Callahan, made a snide comment during a critique, "Pretty drawings from a pretty girl. Let's see if there's anything beneath the surface." Sophia burned with indignation but used his words as fuel. She spent every spare moment refining her designs, studying the works of legendary architects, and pushing the boundaries of her creativity. Despite her efforts, the loneliness lingered. She often called home, but the conversations were strained. Her father barely spoke to her, and her mother's words were tinged with sadness. The distance felt insurmountable. One day, while working on a group project, Sophia met Caleb. He was everything she wasn't: confident, charismatic, and unapologetically ambitious. At first, they clashed. Caleb dismissed her ideas, and Sophia bristled at his arrogance. But as they spent more time together, she saw glimpses of vulnerability beneath his confident exterior. Sophia found herself spending more time with Caleb than she had anticipated. Their project was ambitious, designing a community center that blended modern aesthetics with environmental sustainability. Caleb's sketches were bold but often impractical, while Sophia's were detailed and precise. At first, their meetings were tense, filled with sharp critiques and long silences. "Your design is too rigid," Caleb said one evening, pushing her sketch across the table. "It's functional, sure, but where's the heart?" Sophia narrowed her eyes. "And yours?" "It's all flair with no foundation. It'll collapse at the first gust of wind." They stared at each other, a charged silence filling the room. Then Caleb laughed, a deep, genuine laugh that caught Sophia off guard. "You've got guts, I'll give you that," he said, leaning back in his chair. Sophia couldn't help but smile. Someone has to keep you grounded. As the days turned into weeks, their partnership began to shift. They started meeting outside of class, spending hours in cafes and libraries. Caleb shared stories of his privileged yet suffocating upbringing, a family of doctors who saw his passion for architecture as a waste of potential. In turn, Sophia opened up about her small-town roots and the strained relationship with her parents. One night, as they walked back to their dorms, Caleb stopped suddenly. "You're incredible, you know that?" Sophia blinked, taken aback. "What?" "You're talented, driven, and you don't take crap from anyone. I've never met anyone like you." Heat rose to Sophia's cheeks. "Thanks, Caleb." Their connection grew deeper, but Sophia couldn't ignore the nagging voice in the back of her mind. She had come to New York to chase her dreams, not to get caught up in a romance. And yet, she couldn't deny the way her heart raced every time Caleb looked at her. The project presentation was a resounding success. Sophia and Caleb's combined efforts created a design that stunned their professors. Dr. Callahan, the harshest critic in the department, praised their work, calling it innovative and refreshing. Sophia felt a surge of pride. Finally, her hard work was being recognized. But her triumph was short-lived. A week later, Sophia overheard a conversation in the hallway. Two classmates were whispering about Caleb submitting a similar design to a prestigious competition. At first, she thought they must be mistaken. Caleb wouldn't do that, would he? Her doubts gnawed at her until she confronted him. They met at their usual cafe, and Sophia wasted no time. "Did you submit our design to the Breckenridge competition?" Caleb's expression faltered. "Sophia, I can explain." "You did, didn't you?" she interrupted, her voice trembling with anger. "You stole our work." "It wasn't like that," Caleb said, his tone pleading. "My dad found out about the project and pressured me to enter the competition. He said he'd cut me off if I didn't. I didn't have a choice." Sophia stared at him, her chest tightening. "There's always a choice, Caleb. And you chose to betray me." "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said, his voice breaking. "I'm sorry." But his apology felt hollow. Sophia walked out, tears streaming down her face. She had trusted him, let him see her vulnerabilities, and he had used her. That night, she tore up the sketches they had worked on together and vowed to focus solely on her own path. The days that followed were some of the hardest Sophia had ever endured. She poured herself into her internship, staying late at the office and taking on extra projects. Her colleagues admired her work ethic, but Sophia felt like she was running on empty. One evening, as she returned to her dorm, she found a letter waiting for her. The handwriting on the envelope was unmistakable, it was her mother's. Sophia hesitated before opening it, her hands trembling. The letter was simple but heartfelt. "Dear Sophia. We've missed you more than words can say. Your father and I were wrong to dismiss your dreams. I see your determination in every sketch you left behind, and I know now that you were always meant for more than this town. Your father won't admit it, but he's proud of you. He keeps one of your drawings in the bakery, tucked behind the register. He says it reminds him of your spirit. Come home when you're ready. We'll be waiting. Love, Mom." Tears blurred Sophia's vision as she read the letter. For the first time in months, she felt a glimmer of hope. Her family hadn't given up on her, and maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to rebuild what had been broken. Sophia's return to Wycliffe was bittersweet. The town looked the same, with its cobblestone streets and flower-lined sidewalks, but Sophia felt like a different person. She had left as a small-town girl with big dreams and returned as a woman who had faced the world and come out stronger. Her parents greeted her at the door, her mother pulling her into a tight hug. "Welcome home, sweetheart," Lydia said, her voice thick with emotion. Henry stood awkwardly in the doorway, his arms crossed. "You've grown up," he said gruffly. "New York suits you." Sophia smiled, tears welling in her eyes. "Thanks, Dad." Over the weekend, they talked for hours, sharing stories and mending old wounds. Sophia showed them her designs, and Henry admitted that he had underestimated her. "You've got a gift, kiddo," he. Back in New York, Sophia threw herself into her final project, a skyscraper that combined modern design with eco-friendly technology. The unveiling of her work at a gallery event was a defining moment in her career. Industry leaders praised her innovative approach, and she was offered a position at a leading firm. Caleb, who had worked tirelessly to redeem himself, approached her at the event. "Sophia," he said, his voice soft. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know how sorry I am." Sophia looked at him for a long moment before nodding. "I forgive you, Caleb. But trust takes time to rebuild." Their relationship evolved into a deep friendship, built on honesty and mutual respect. Years later, Sophia stood before her first completed skyscraper. Its sleek lines and shimmering glass reflected the sky above, a symbol of everything she had overcome. At the base of the building was a plaque that read, "For the ones who taught me the meaning of home."